On January 8, 2026, something you don't see every day happened at one of the world's busiest airports. Right in the middle of the usual parade of airliners at Los Angeles International, a ghost from the Cold War dropped out of the California sky. It was a massive, white, unmarked Boeing 747, with no passenger windows and a strange hump on its back. The moment it touched down at LAX, for what might be the first time in its 51-year history, the internet went into a complete meltdown. Plane spotters scrambled, their live streams went viral, and social media just exploded. Posts asking, "War imminent," captured the sudden wave of public alarm. So why was this super-secret military aircraft, a machine literally built for the apocalypse, suddenly parking at a civilian airport? The answer turned out to be both surprisingly ordinary and deeply revealing. The plane was just flying the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, on a tour of the defense industry. But the public freakout said it all. The mere sight of this plane is enough to cause real concern, because this is no ordinary 747. This is the E-4B Night Watch, better known by its terrifying nickname, the Doomsday plane. It's a flying war room, a command center that can survive almost anything, and America's last line of defense. It was designed for one single, unthinkable purpose: to command a nuclear war from the sky. Let's go inside this billion-dollar marvel of engineering, a plane that almost never lands, to reveal the top-secret technology and the chilling mission that makes it one of the most important and feared aircraft ever built. So, what exactly is the E-4B Night Watch, and why does the US even have a fleet of these flying fortresses? The E-4B is a crucial part of the National Military Command System. Its official name is the National Airborne Operations Center, or NAOC, pronounced NAOC by the people who fly it. The U.S. Air Force keeps a small fleet of just 4 of these planes at Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska, which is also home to U.S. Strategic Command. But their nickname, the Doomsday Planes, tells you everything you need to know. They were created during the darkest days of the Cold War to answer one terrifying question. How does a country fight back if its leaders and command centers on the ground are wiped out in a surprise nuclear attack? The answer was to take the command center to the one place it might actually be safe: the sky. The E-4B's main job is to be a survivable, mobile command post for the President, the Secretary of Defense, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. If a national emergency hits, anything from a massive earthquake to the horror of a nuclear war, this plane becomes the flying Pentagon, the airborne White House. From its consoles, America's leaders can direct U.S. forces around the world, execute emergency war orders, and work with civil authorities to manage the crisis. To make sure this is always an option, at least one E-4B is on alert 24/7, with a full battle staff ready to take off in minutes. This constant state of readiness is why, for all intents and purposes, it's the plane that never truly lands. The mission is perpetual, a silent watch that has been going on for decades, and while it also has a more routine job, like flying the Secretary of Defense on overseas trips, its real purpose is to be the ultimate insurance policy, an incredible piece of technology everyone hopes will never be used for its primary function. To really get the E-4B, you have to look past the 747 body and see it for what it is: a purpose-built sanctuary for command and control. It's a fascinating mix of 1970s durability and modern necessity. Inside, the E-4B is a world away from a commercial jet. It's a maze of functional, no-frills compartments, each with a critical role in a crisis. It can carry a massive crew of up to 112 people, including the flight crew, a joint service operations team, and communications specialists. When you step aboard the E-4B, you know this is a place for serious business. The main deck is split into 6 main areas: a command work area, a conference room, a briefing room, an operations team area, a communications section, and a rest area. Right at the front, just behind the cockpit, is the most critical space, the National Command Authority, NCA suite. This is basically an executive suite for the President or Secretary of Defense, complete with an office, lounge, and sleeping quarters. From here, the nation's leader has access to secure phones for clear, worldwide communication, allowing them to make the biggest decisions imaginable. Next to the NCA suite are the conference and briefing rooms. This is where the battle staff would gather, around a large table with seats for nearly 24 analysts and advisors. At the front, large LED screens display critical data, maps, intel reports, and secure video from around the globe. This is the nerve center, where information is analyzed, options are weighed, and orders are given. Further back, the plane opens into its largest single compartment, the operations teamwork area. This space is a hive of activity filled with consoles for the battle staff, a mix of specialists from the Air Force, Army, Navy, and Marines. These are the people who would carry out the orders. They handle everything from strategic operations and intelligence to logistics and emergency action procedures. And because a mission could last for days, the plane has a dedicated rest area with bunk beds, allowing the crew to get precious sleep under unimaginable stress. The galley is also a high-tech wonder, with ovens that can prepare over 100 hot meals, making sure the crew can sustain itself for the long haul. A command center is useless if it can't talk to anyone. And in a world after a nuclear attack, with ground stations destroyed and the airwaves full of interference, the E-4B's ability to communicate is its most vital function. The plane is the most advanced mobile communications hub on Earth, with redundant systems designed to work when nothing else will. The most obvious feature is the large dome, or radome, on its back, just behind the 747's famous hump. This bubble houses a super high-frequency SHF satellite antenna, the primary link for worldwide voice and data. This is the high-bandwidth connection, allowing for secure video conferences and fast data transfer. But that's just the start. The plane is covered in over a dozen other antennas for different systems, from military satellites to commercial networks, ensuring that if one link is jammed or destroyed, another can instantly take its place. But the most fascinating and critical communication system is also the oldest, the trailing wire antenna. In the back of the plane, there's a massive reel holding a 5-mile-long wire. In a crisis, this wire can be spooled out to hang almost vertically toward the Earth. Its purpose? To transmit and receive on the very low frequency, or VLF band. VLF signals have a unique property. They can penetrate deep into seawater. This makes the wire the only sure way to talk to America's submerged ballistic missile submarines, the most survivable part of the nuclear triad. It's the final, fail-safe lifeline, making sure the order to launch a retaliatory strike can be received even when the submarines are deep under the ocean, totally cut off from everything else. This mix of cutting-edge satellite links and old-school VLF technology shows the E-4B's core philosophy. Use whatever works, new or old, to guarantee the message gets through. The E-4B isn't just a command center. It's an armored bunker designed to fly through the most hostile environment imaginable. The main threat it's built to withstand is an electromagnetic pulse, or EMP. An EMP is an intense burst of electromagnetic energy from a nuclear blast that can instantly fry unprotected electronics across entire continents, effectively throwing civilization back 2 centuries in a flash. The E-4B is designed to fly right through an EMP and keep working. This is done through hardening. The entire airframe, all of its wiring, and every piece of electronics are meticulously shielded. Think of it as a flying Faraday cage, a conductive enclosure that blocks electromagnetic fields. It's a total defense that makes the plane virtually immune to an EMP's effects. The E-4B also has nuclear and thermal shielding to protect the crew and equipment from the intense radiation and heat of a nearby blast. This obsession with survival leads to one of the plane's most famous features, its cockpit. In an age of glass cockpits with big digital screens, the E-4B proudly keeps its original 1970s-era analog dials and gauges. This isn't an accident, it's a deliberate choice. Those old-fashioned instruments are far less likely to be damaged by an EMP than complex digital screens. It's the perfect example of the old versus new paradox that defines the aircraft. The mission is so critical that proven, resilient, low-tech solutions are chosen over more modern, but potentially more fragile, high-tech ones. The idea of the plane that never lands points to the core of the E-4B's mission. Its endurance is legendary. On a standard tank of fuel, the 800,000-pound aircraft can stay up for about 12 hours. But in a crisis, that's not enough. The real key is its ability to refuel in mid-air. High above the Earth, the E-4B can meet up with a tanker like a KC-135 or KC-46. In a precise aerial ballet, a probe extends from the E-4B's nose and connects with a basket trailing from the tanker, pumping thousands of pounds of jet fuel and allowing it to stay on mission without ever landing. With aerial refueling, the E-4B's endurance isn't limited by fuel, but by how long its engines can run and its crew can hold out. The aircraft is designed to remain airborne for a full week in an emergency. In one test, an E-4B stayed airborne and fully operational for over 35 hours. In a real-world scenario, it's capable of staying up for 150 hours or more, circling high above the chaos. This ability to remain airborne for days is what truly makes it a plane that never has to land. It can outlast the initial phase of any conflict, providing a stable command post until it's safe to return to the ground. The technology and strategy behind the E-4B Night Watch were created for a world we all hope to avoid. If you find these deep dives into incredible machines fascinating, take a second to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We've got more secrets of military tech to uncover, and you won't want to miss what's next. Now, back to the story of how this Doomsday fleet was born. The story of the E-4B is a direct reflection of the Cold War. The program started in the mid-1960s with an initiative called Operation Night Watch, born from the fear of a Soviet first strike. The first airborne command posts were modified KC-35 tankers, but it was clear that a much bigger and more capable plane was needed. In the early 1970s, the Air Force turned to the brand new queen of the skies, the Boeing 747. The first model, the E-4A, entered service in late 1974. The media immediately nicknamed them the Doomsday planes, and the name stuck. By January 1980, the Air Force received the first E-4B model, which was a huge leap forward in communications and, most importantly, was fully hardened against nuclear effects like EMP. By 1985, the entire fleet had been upgraded to the E-4B configuration that flies today. For decades, the E-4B fleet stood as a silent, airborne guardian, its primary mission never triggered. That all changed on September 11, 2001. In the chaos after the terrorist attacks, with the nation's leaders scattered and ground command centers at risk, the continuity of government mission was activated for the first and only time in a real emergency. An E-4B, with the call sign Venus 77, was seen circling near Washington, D.C. after the Pentagon was hit. The plane had been scheduled for a training flight, but instead entered a holding pattern over the Capitol with a high-level team on board, ready to become the National Airborne Operations Center. This event, witnessed by millions on the news, brought the abstract purpose of the Doomsday plane into stark, undeniable reality. This brings us back to where we started, the landing at LAX in January 2026. The online speculation was wrong. The E-4B was simply performing its secondary role, providing secure transport for the Secretary of Defense. Secretary Pete Hegseth was in Southern California for his Arsenal of Freedom tour. visiting defense companies and ROTC cadets to promote a peace-through-strength agenda. Using the E-4B for such a trip, while rare for LAX, is standard for the Secretary, as it keeps him fully connected to the command and control network. So, the landing wasn't a sign of war, but it was a rare public glimpse of a critical piece of national security in action. But even the mighty E-4B can't last forever. The planes are based on the 1970s-era 747-200, an aircraft long retired from commercial service, which makes finding spare parts a huge challenge. The Air Force has already started the process of finding a replacement, a program called the Survivable Airborne Operations Center, or SAOC. In a $13 billion deal, the Sierra Nevada Corporation will develop the next-generation Doomsday plane based on the more modern Boeing 747-8i. These hardened fortresses aren't completely invulnerable, though. A stark reminder came in June 2017 when a tornado hit Offutt Air Force Base. 2 E-4Bs were damaged in their hangar, costing over $8 million to repair. With a third plane already in deep maintenance, the incident left the Air Force with only a single operational Doomsday plane for 3 months. It was a sobering lesson that sometimes the biggest threats aren't from an enemy, but from nature itself. The Boeing E-4B Night Watch is an aircraft of contradictions. It's a Cold War relic that's still on the front lines of modern security. It has some of the most advanced communication tech on the planet, all housed in a fortress that relies on 1970s analog instruments to survive. It's a weapon of war, capable of directing unimaginable destruction, yet its most successful mission is the one it performs every day, preventing conflict just by existing. The landing at LAX might have been routine, but the public reaction showed the deep awe and anxiety this plane inspires. It's a symbol of the apocalypse, a reminder of a world we came terrifyingly close to and a future we have to avoid. As the fleet ages and a new generation prepares to take over, the mission remains the same. The Night Watch is a silent guardian, a testament to human ingenuity in the face of our own worst instincts. It's the plane that never has to land, the flying fortress that holds the world's fate in its shielded hull, and the one machine on Earth we all hope is never used for its ultimate, terrible purpose. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into America's Doomsday jet. If you want to see more explorations of the world's most incredible military technology, make sure you're subscribed. Let us know in the comments what other secret projects you'd like us to investigate next. Until then, stay curious.